Thank you everybody for coming out. My name is Loegel. I am the Vice President for the Rapid Transit Department of the Transport Workers Union. I represent the subway train operators, the train conductors, the tower operators, right? The folks who move New York, all right? The ones who are in the seats moving those trains right now. And it's great to have the support from the borough president, from council members here, and of course all the members of the riding public who have shown their support for what we're doing. This lawsuit is to compel the MTA to restore normal service. Normal service, full service on the C and the F lines. That is what we do as transit workers, is we provide service. And during a pandemic, it is extremely important to have trains on the road, to get people where they need to go, to have social distancing on these trains as much as we can provide, all right? And the effect that it's had on our members, okay? Our members down there, they have been through hell and back in this pandemic. It has been an extremely, what could I say? An extremely difficult year. And they have rolled with the punches as far as the service changes and disruptions, the changes to their schedules. Right now we have a lot of members who are displaced from their regular work. Their work-life balance has been thrown into chaos. So they want this as well. They want normal schedules on these lines. They pick these lines for a reason, right? Because they're close to home, because the hours work for them and their families, and we want to bring that back to them as well as the riding public. And thank you. And we couldn't have done this, we couldn't have brought this suit against the MTA without the help and assistance of the one and only Arthur Schwartz, one of the lawyers for Local 100, who's been a fighter for working class people for his whole life. Arthur's been instrumental working with us on bringing this action against transit. And the president of the TWU has been a great support, Tony Utano, backing us up all the way, as well as our other officers in the union. So this has really been a team effort. It's been a team effort inside the union with our great public servants here who are by our side. And on that note, I want to turn it over to Arthur so he could speak a little bit about the legal aspect of it, because that's not my expertise. Thank you.
Every city got me to wear a tie. My name is Arthur Schwartz. I have a title in the union. I'm Special Assistant to the President, and I'm counsel to Transport Workers Union Local 100. When the union was faced with the cuts, the decision by the authority to make the cuts permanent, which was reflected in a job pic that they posted, we went to court. We went to court with the Fulton Houses Tenants Association, that's a NYCHA group of NYCHA tenants who rely on the subway system. And we went to court under a law that gets ignored all the time. It's a law that says when the New York City Transit Authority wants to cut service, it has to send notice to the mayor, and it has to send notice to the New York City Council, and the City Council can ask for hearings on the cuts. But the authority has basically ignored that law for who knows how long. And the City Council hasn't asserted its rights under that law for who knows how long. Well, we went to court, and the judge stayed the job pick that would have made these cuts permanent until today, and then today he just extended it another 2 weeks.
All right.
The authority tried to say that there was no cut. They said, well, there's no change from yesterday to today. And we said, no, Judge, the issue is pre-pandemic to now. And from pre-pandemic to now, there's been a 30% cut in service on the F train, a 15% cut in service on the C train, and that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable because platforms are more crowded, because trains are more crowded. And it's not acceptable to the union because our conductors and train operators, many of whom have died. They've died.
Come on, that's right.
are going to be working in less safe conditions when the trains are more crowded. So our message here today is that the Transit Authority and the MTA should restore service on those two lines like they have restored service on every other line in the city that we know of. They've got the funding for this year. They should do it. They shouldn't be saying to people, we need you to return to the subway system, but it's going to be more crowded. Reducing service doesn't entice people in this day to come back to the subway system. Now I want to say something to my brother from the City Council. The New York Times had an article this morning about how daunting it's going to be for service to be restored or for the authority to regain the ridership that it had gained in 2019. There are predictions from experts that it'll take till 2024 to get back to about 90% of that ridership. But there was an interesting point in that article, and that was that our subway system is the most rider-subsidized subway system in the United States. It is the subway system that most relies on the fare box to pay for the subway system. And that's wrong. That should not be true. Once upon a time, before 1977, the New York City Transit Authority was under control of New York City. It was a city agency, which is why the workers who work there are still civil servants under the New York City Civil Service Law. And the New York City funded the operation of the Transit Authority. And they had to give it to the state as part of the bailout in 1977 and 78 when the city was going bankrupt. And what happened to the city's subsidy of the operating, not the capital plan, but the operations of the Transit Authority? The funding went from here to there, and the fares went from here to there, right? They went in opposite directions. The city council must put more money into the Transit Authority. There was a time when 1% of the city budget went to the New York City Transit Authority for mass transit. Now it's about 1/10 of 1%. That's wrong. So Brother Udonis, I want to see you as transportation chair say, you know what? The city, which is getting all this federal money, people shouldn't just talk, we need money for our schools, we need money for mental health, but we need money for mass transit. 50% of New Yorkers take mass transit in the morning to go to work. They deserve support from the city. So we need the Transit Authority not to cut the service, and we need the City of New York to put its money where its mouth is. If they put $1 billion a year, 1% of the budget, we'd be able to reduce the fares in New York. We'd be able to make it easier for working class New Yorkers to get to work instead of spending. Most New Yorkers spend exactly the same amount as the stimulus check they're going to get. They spend it on the subway system. Let's let people keep that money. Thank you very much.